Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 100 Words or Less, the podcast. And I want to clarify something. I've noticed some comments on the punk news news posts that people are like, hey, this show isn't 100 words or less. Try like 1,000 words or less. I get it. It's a joke. This is meant to be a joke. I know, obviously, people take things very literally. So if any of you were angry at the false advertisement of the 100 words or less, then I sincerely apologize. But, it's a common saying, 100 words or less. Like, you hear it in school, write an essay, all that type of stuff. So anyways, had to get that off my chest immediately because, you see stuff online. And of course, out of every positive thing that you read or hear, you always have to focus on the negative, of course, right? Anyways, I'm no different. And me, I am your host, Ray Harkins, and we're talking about episode number 13 here. And the guest that we have, or I needed to learn how to stop getting those two things confused, because I say we is like this massive entity. I have like 30 people working for me on this podcast, and that's not true. It's just me. And then obviously the cool people that decide to come on and help. But anyways, the guest we have this week is Jami Morgan from the band Code Orange Kids. More about him in a moment, but first and foremost, 100 Words or Less is part of the Punk News Podcast Network. They got a bunch of other cool shows. Something that everyone should probably be interested in checking out is the actual Punk News Podcast, where they dissect all of the week's past news. And then, you can find out more information at punknews.org. And rate the show. I've noticed a few of you have been so kind as to leave reviews on iTunes, and I honestly really do appreciate that. And then even if you don't want to leave a review, just at least click on how many stars you give the show, because the more we get of those, the higher ranked we get, the more iTunes love that might officially be thrown our direction. But the show is kind of picking up some steam, and I'm really excited that a lot of you are downloading it, so thank you. I appreciate it. You can follow us on Twitter at 100 Words Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. Just search 100 Words the podcast, and then you can email the show 100wordspodcast@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you. So all the business out of the way. Here's some random stuff that I personally have experienced recently that I would like to discuss with you fine folks. One of them being I was recently able to go to a few of the farewell shows for the band Thrice. Riley, one of the first guests on 100 Words or Less, and also one of the first guests on any podcast I've ever done in general. So his band was playing some final shows here in the Southern California area, and it was very interesting because, been involved with this type of music since I was, 15 years old, and then watching people grow up within this scene, and then watching bands kind of, strike it larger than what this scene obviously is. And Thrice was definitely one of them. They're on a major label, and it was crazy to be walking alongside them in their journey, and see how those dudes really haven't changed throughout the course of their career as far as individuals. They've grown, but they haven't changed their perspective on what they wanted to get out of music. And I know a lot of people have been talking about Dustin's comments about, why he's not doing or not interested in pursuing the band anymore at this juncture in his life, and he wants to concentrate on worship music. I'm not going to talk about that because you can find out about that anywhere online. And there's been some interesting dialogue with people like Brian Fallon from the Gaslight Anthem and some other stuff. But I'm just going to speak on the experience of watching a band that has such a huge catalog play some shows. And their final show, they played like 33 songs. It was like 3 hours, and that's unbelievable. So for any band to be able to go through as much as they have and still maintain relevance within the independent music community, it's unbelievable. It's like not very many bands have the ability to kind of capture people's attention and let them ride through all of the musical changes that a band like Thrice has gone under, and all the experimentation that they've done. And yeah, it's just impressive, and it obviously speaks to the fact that people love music for music's sake, and once they trust a band, then they'll kind of follow them through whatever. So, and also I had the awesome opportunity to sing a little bit with the dudes on that song "To Awake and Avenge the Dead," which is on one of their earlier records, and when my old band Taken and those guys in Thrice were playing together, they'd always ask me to do that part, and so it was nice to kind of take a walk down memory lane with those guys. So kudos to Thrice, and yeah, it was awesome to watch them go out on such a high note. And then a random recommendation for you, fine folk of the podcast world. There is another podcast that I listen to, non-musical related, but entertainment industry type stuff. But more importantly, the host of the show, well, not the host, but the center of the show, speaks, a lot about his wisdom over the years and life, and how you navigate the crazy things that we experience. But so there's this dude named Stephen Tobolowsky, which most of you probably are like, who's that? That name doesn't even sound familiar. He's like a character actor. You've seen him in Memento, Groundhog's Day, and he's just been in a shitload of stuff. He's been one of those dudes that's always been working in Hollywood. So he does a podcast, and it's called The Tobolowsky Files. Don't ask me to spell it because I will butcher it, so just search for it online. You'll be able to find it pretty easily. But it's awesome because, they're at about like 56 or 57 episodes now, and it's really poignant and sometimes emotional, really funny, but above all entertaining. So for those of you who like storytelling, because basically it's just one dude talking into a mic, no interviews or anything like that. He just weaves these really intricate and funny stories about his life. So yeah, I think people that enjoy this show and kind of like the, peek behind the curtain as far as like what makes people tick, would totally love this. And I know I've been obsessed with it ever since I discovered it about a year and a half ago. Yeah, there's tons of content. So, like I said, 56 or 57 episodes, that's like 56 or 57 hours worth of stuff. So, get listening. And if you enjoy it, let me know. And if you want me to stop recommending things to you, then let me know that as well. But anyways, so the guest this week, Jami Morgan from Code Orange Kids. Some of you might be like, who the hell is this band and do they have a ridiculous name? But anyways, Code Orange Kids, they're on the up and up. They're a band that just signed to Deathwish after releasing their first 7-inch on Mayfly Records, which is a very credible and credible hardcore label. They've done a few U.S. tours, and they're definitely on the tip of everybody's tongue, and obviously the hardcore world definitely runs in very quick cycles, so what a band that may be cool for 6 months may be completely irrelevant in another 6 if they, don't do the right comp or whatever the case may be. But something struck me about these dudes, and more importantly, kind of how young they were, because that's what everyone talks about. But Jamie's 19 years old, and we discussed that within the podcast. There's he's 19, I'm 31. That's a huge difference age-wise, but we've had similar experiences and have similar music tastes, and so I just wanted to get a younger person on the show and podcast, and kind of get their perspective on what it's like to be in a band and kind of navigate all these crazy waters that sometimes bands that are young aren't really well versed on swimming. So I had a really fun conversation, and I was really appreciative of him already being aware of the podcast that we've done in the past, and just wanting to be a part of the show. So I called him up one afternoon after a few scheduling conflicts messed up our first few talks, but this is what ensued. So hope you enjoy. I was actually thinking, there's two things. There's one, how old are you currently?
I just turned 19.
Yeah, you were hands down the youngest guest that I've ever had, which is awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Which I'm glad to say, because sometimes it's like I don't want to have this show exist with like walking down memory lane with people who have been in hardcore for like, 10 plus years. It's like, it's nice to have. It's nice to have.
It's cool. I enjoy listening to that stuff, but I don't have any of that kind of knowledge.
Yeah, no, but I mean, but it's cool because it's like, obviously these are two different kind of generations within hardcore, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so it's cool because it's like, I want to have that vibe, but then at the same time, sometimes people in younger bands don't seem to have a frame of reference, like where it's like, not only the way that, you seem as a person, but the way that obviously your band sounds. It's like, there's stuff that's happening beyond just like, what's the flavor of the moment,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But, yeah, so congratulations about being the youngest guest.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Being the youngest anything is fucking awesome.
That is true. Yeah, you could be like the 5-year-old guitar player that knows how to.
No, it has to be cool. It can't just be some YouTube shit.
Yeah, it can't be some YouTube shit.
Sometimes.
I usually like to start things off where I'm just usually my first experience with the band, and please forgive me if you hear a child crying in the background. My kiddo is.
Oh, that's no problem.
I'm not watching it. My wife is, but yeah. So don't be alarmed if you're like, "Yo, Ray, do you need to attend to something in the background?"
Are you killing a child as you talk?
Yes, exactly. That's usually how I warm things up. But yeah, usually I like to start things off with like my own personal experience with the band and, how I discovered, you guys in general. Because I remember where basically Chris from No Sleep, who I know you're friends with and obviously are working with him professionally now. He just showed you guys to me, and, I listened to it. I just listened to the 7-inch, and it was strange for me because it was like, even though I still view myself as very involved within hardcore, there's obviously bands that you just don't hear about until a later date. So the 7-inch had been out for a while, and Chris showed it to me, and I was like, yeah, this is cool, but like I didn't get it really. I didn't get where it was coming from. I just, I had no frame of reference besides looking at, listening to it on Bandcamp, which is, it is what it is. But then when I went to see you guys play at that Aladdin Junior show in Pomona, it kind of all just came together for me, where it was like, oh, like I see what they're going for, and I see kind of, where they're coming from, and above all, it made me happy because obviously, everyone always talks about your guys' age, where it's just like, these guys are infants playing hardcore. And so
in diapers and shit. It's like that's like I'll have like lollipops and shit. I don't even know. By the way, that show that was like one of the most nervous shows we like had the entire time, because here's a little known secret. We thought like this was before, like, now us and Chris are like really good friends because we spent like a bunch of time together.
Right.
But we didn't know him at all. And we thought he was gonna kill us.
Right.
Like I was like, he's gonna kill us, guys. Like, I mean, that's it. Like, let's just back it up. It's over. Like, because like Xerxes came over, they're like, dude, Chris fucking hates you guys. Well, they were like that, but they like really built it up, and I was just like so worried about it because we were like super idiots about how we like handle like the label stuff, because like we had never like known labels or anything like that at all, like ever. So like, we just were like super stupid about it. And then like when he was there, we were all just like so nervous, and I was like, oh, is he gonna watch us, or is he gonna like boycott it? And now we're like really close friends, so it's fucking awesome. But
I was aware of that whole experience, and it was funny, like just kind of seeing it all play out to where it could.
Yeah, I wanted to go over and say something, but like then I saw you were over there, and I knew you from the shit, and then I was like, oh god, like I'm not doing this shit. And we just bail. I was like, I'm not going up when he's got the crew.
Yeah, no.
I'm not gonna just like, hey, motherfuckers, like we're here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, oh man, I'm just not gonna say anything. Because like we're like pretty socially, like I'm all right, but like we're pretty socially weird. So like it was just uncomfortable, man.
Yeah.
But
no,
it worked out.
Yeah, exactly. It worked out in the end, because it's like, I think above all, like with, this is actually a question I was going to ask you later, but we can obviously dive into it right now, where it's like you seem to be like the sort of quote unquote default business guy in the band. Am I right in that?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
There is one. Yeah, I mean, I do my best to be that.
Right, exactly. You're the person that responds to emails and, talks to
Yeah,
people.
all that shit, yeah.
Yeah. You do book shows for the band too?
Yeah, I do all that too.
Yeah. So yeah, like, I mean, what struck me about once I started to, after I did listen to that 7-inch and, kind of heard more besides, Chris being interested in signing you guys for No Sleep, and then kind of hearing the other things where it's like, Rise Records is interested, and, Deathwish is talking. It's like once you start to hear all of these other labels interested in something that, I mean, realistically, for all intent and purposes, like, is a pretty basic hardcore band. Like, no slight against you guys, but
no, yeah, absolutely.
And so I just found it so interesting, and then kind of seeing how, all the business stuff was playing itself out with you guys. Like, did that all just kind of like take you by surprise and kind of be like,
dude, well, you have no idea. Like we had like all happened in like 2 weeks. So it's like it's I know it's like it's not like in the real world. I don't know if it was be like a big deal or anything, but like to us it was like a huge deal because like Deathwish and like No Sleep and like Top Shelf and like Return to these different like, yo, I straight up have been like buying stuff from these labels and going to see these bands and buying these records and just like trying to be any kind of a part of anything for like so long, and like had never known any of them, and then all of a sudden it was like I know all of them and they're all calling me, and like I was just like, oh God, I don't know what to do. I was just like, it was like really stressful because like the only thing we'd ever like label wise had worked with, we worked with Bob over at Mayfly, but like he just sent me a message on Facebook. He was the only person who sent me a message on Facebook, and he was just like, hey, can I like put a 7-inch on? We were like, yeah, that would be like awesome. Like we thought we were gonna have to put it on CD. Right. And then like
yeah, like
fucking burn it. And then like he was just like, so like I don't know. Yeah, we like I think eventually we like I did that, but like I felt so bad with the whole situation because like I felt like mainly just with Chris. With other people I like did it right, but like I really really love that label and like we respect it a lot, and like
yeah,
I just felt like it seemed like I was doing something that I really wasn't trying to do. Like I wasn't trying to like be savvy and like play I was just like I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And then like it just happened. I don't even remember now.
Well, no. I mean, I like totally from an outsider's perspective, it's like, when you're not used to dealing with things like this, like that's overwhelming, especially like you said, these are labels that you've paid attention to forever. And then, to add even weirder things to the mix, like, like a label like Rise Records, who obviously is like trying to work with like every single genre of every single subgenre.
That was so weird. That was like the weirdest like phone call I've ever had, but it was cool.
Did you talk to was it Craig over at Rise?
No, I talked to Matt.
Matt, yeah.
Matt, yeah, he's really nice guy. Like I really like him, and like everything they were cool. It was just like so weird. I was like, we just got an email that was like from Rise Records. I was like, oh, this has to be some kind of like fucking like
mailing list
chain. Yeah, like mailing list shit I accidentally signed up for, and it was like yo, and I was like, oh, it's a way to like trick me into opening it, And then I opened it, and it was like we're interested in I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, what? I just wanted to write why.
Right.
But I didn't. I asked him on the phone though.
Yeah.
I was like, why do you want to do this? And he was just like explaining to me why, and it was really cool. Cause like when I first picked up the phone, I was like, no fucking way. Yeah. But then like when we started talking to him, I was like, I don't know, this seems pretty sick.
I know what you're saying as far as, not a matter of fact of selling out, but you just weren't comfortable taking that step right now because the band is still so young. You didn't want to be like,
yeah, it was. I mean, like, dude, like I said, they were like unbelievable, but like really nice. It was just like, it mainly came down to all that shit came down to when Deathwish hit us up. It was like, it is what it is. Like, that's what we're doing. Because like that's like to us that has been like. That label's been a mold for like 108 and fucking reissuing the Cursed records and like Converge and like all that stuff is like what got us out of listening to like Rancid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and Rants is still awesome, but like that's what moved the chain, like, and progressed us as like that label. Like, I don't know, it just meant a whole lot to us, and like we started talking to him, like, you know, if we don't do this, like, this is like what we're gonna regret not doing.
Right.
Like, that was my instant feeling.
Yeah. That's like the proverbial trump card where it's just like, well, if everything else kind of, you know, happens.
Like, we would make jokes, like, for our whole life. Like, and now I kind of have a much bigger perspective on this, but as just like a kid or whatever, like, we would, like, make jokes and, like, be like, oh, man, it's not. Like, one of our guitar players quit one time, and he said, his last thing he said was, it's not like we're going to get signed to Deathwish or anything. And then he quit. And then that happened like 5 months later. Like, it was like, what the hell? Like, and I know, like, it's not like that they live in this like fountain of gold and like, you know, like but it's like, it's still to us and still to me in my mind, like, those are a lot of those bands are like the bands that we looked up to, like, especially back in the day, and still, of course. But like, it was just like, man, no brainer. Like, we have to do this.
Right.
Like,
super surreal. Super surreal.
Too surreal, man. It was like, yeah, like, I don't know. There was no other, exactly. We would just, that was like what we wanted to do as like being in a band, you know?
Yeah.
If it was possible.
That's awesome. So were you kind of backing up a little bit? Like, were you, because like you mentioned to me before, you're from Pittsburgh, like born and raised there?
Yeah. No, I wasn't born there, actually. I was born in Chicago, and then my parents had me when they were like my age, like now, like 18.
Sure.
So they, so we like moved a lot. Like, we lived with my grandparents at one point, and then we lived in the suburbs of Chicago. We lived in Milwaukee for a little bit, but I moved to Pittsburgh when I was like 10.
Okay.
Or maybe I was like 9.
Yeah.
Sometime around then. So I've been here like my whole life. It's really all I remember.
Right. This essentially was, you know, Pittsburgh is your formative years where you kind of, you know, you have the most memories, obviously.
Absolutely.
So that's crazy that your parents obviously had you when you were your age. Like, so they're obviously young parents. And how does that, you know, for one, are they still together?
Yeah, they're still together.
Which is awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I presume you were a quote unquote surprise or / blessing.
Yeah, I think I was definitely like a surprise type deal. Well, my sister actually, they had my sister before me. So like, okay, my mom was like 19 when she had me, and they were like 18 when they had my sister. So I think I was less of a surprise than my sister.
Right.
But more of a surprise than, like, you know, I don't know, like getting a gift or something.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. So then, you know, as you were kind of, you know, forming your memories in Pittsburgh and everything like that, you know, because I mean, you graduated high school like what, 2 years ago then? Yeah, no,
we graduated this time last year.
Oh, okay, so a lot.
So not 2 years ago. Yeah, we are supposed to be freshmen in college, and we were, but we quit.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that in a moment. So kind of, you know, how was high school for you? Like, how was that? You know, your experience with that, and then kind of a second part to that would be like, you know, where did you get your I guess intro to, you know, independent music, punk, hardcore, whatever you'd like to call it?
I would say we kind of to start with the first. Yeah, high school was fine. I mean, I don't know. I've dealt with like a lot of depression and shit like that, so there was like times where that was really hard. But you know, overall, I met all of them. Like literally everybody in my band was at my same high school.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Eric got. I was in this other band when I was in middle school, and I was like really thought like that was gonna be it. Like I was like, this is what we're doing, and it sounded like the Strokes or something like that. Oh, and like
dude,
we wore ties and shit. It was like, oh my god.
And you were in middle school with that?
Middle school, yeah, I'm like 7th grade, yeah.
That's pretty mature. That's pretty mature for that age.
I feel like now it was, because we did like a The Vines cover. It was pretty cool. Yeah, but I don't know. We wore ties, and like it was awesome. And I was like, this is the taste. Like I love it. And then like when I got in, that band broke up when we were leaving middle school, so I was like heartbroken. And I hit up Reba, who's she plays in the band too. She plays guitar now, but she played bass at the time. And I was like, oh, we gotta start this band. And like the first thing I remember ever saying was like, yo, if you agree to this band, as soon as we get out of high school, like, we're going on tour. Like, we're not going to college. We're not doing anything. We're going on tour. So we started what was the first incarnation, and we called it the Code Orange Kids. It's had the same name since, like, forever, but it's changed, like, 4 times. And it was, like, me and her and all of us. And then, yeah, like, so I met the rest of the guys, and, like, as time went on, we, like, kind of started doing what we're doing. I totally forgot what the question is now.
No, it's okay. It's okay. There's so much I'm trying to unpack here. So for one,
yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Because you just keep telling so many amazing things. What was the name of the band that you did in middle school?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it, dude. I can't say it. Because kids are going to look it up, and then, like, I'm going to be fucked. Like, there's a music video on YouTube, and it's, like, literally the most embarrassing thing that's, like, literally ever happened.
Well, here, I
can't say it.
It's okay. I'll frame it for you in the context, because basically a lot of the stories that people have shared with me in this show is your first band has to have a terrible band name. You have to be...
Oh, dude. I mean, this band is a terrible fucking band name, so imagine what the first band was.
Yeah,
like,
so what was your... So that wasn't your first band. What was your band that you kind of, first, like, got together with and played with?
It was called that. No, that was my first band. I'm saying Code Orange Kids has a terrible band name. Name. So like, yeah, like I mean, it's like the worst band name of all time. So like the band before was even worse. I refuse to reveal the name.
That's fine.
I just can't have it. Like my friends don't even know. I think Code Orange Kids know, but that's like about it. There's also a documentary. We made a documentary, dude.
That's impressive.
And it's terrible. Like we interviewed our friends. I'm gonna hang this up. We interviewed our friends, and like they would just be like, "Oh man, like this blank band has like changed my life and stuff like that." And it's like fucking ridiculous. I don't want anybody to see it.
But like I said, to be fair, is the fact that that sounds like I reflect on my time in 7th grade, and my brain wouldn't have worked like that. I wouldn't have been able to even put together a band in 7th grade because I didn't start playing until I was about like freshman or sophomore year in high school. So like the fact that you were cutting your teeth in 7th grade and doing these sort of, I would never think of like, oh, let's make a documentary on this band. Like,
really? That's all I used to think about. All the time.
That's pretty impressive. Like, hats
it was because Bullet in a Bible came out, dude. Come on, everybody had wanted to do that. Dude, like, Bullet in a Bible was the fucking shit. The fucking Green Day movie, remember that?
Of course.
Dude, I was like, oh my god. It was like Bullet in a Bible, except we were not playing at fucking, what's it called, like Sheffield or whatever.
Right.
We were playing at this thing I used to do called the Youth Arts Program. At a church basement.
So it sounds like from all of what you're saying, like, so you had the idea that like I really wanted to play in bands like from a very early age. Like, what was did your parents encourage that, or like were they musicians?
Oh yeah, my parents have always been so cool about that shit. Like, I guess the way I came into playing drums was like there was this art school type deal for middle school.
Mm-hmm.
You had to like audition, and like basically everybody got in. You still had to audition. So,
sure.
like, I picked drums. So, like, after that, I don't know, like, I got in that band. Like, the way I got in the first band was this kid came up. He was like, hey, man, like, you like Green Day? I was like, yeah. He was, you want to be in this band? So, like, from there, it was, like, everything. So, yeah, I don't know, like, that's just, like, always just kind of how it's been. My parents have always just, like, been... like do it. They just always let me do it. I mean, they said it was cool for me to quit college to like tour. So, I mean, like super, super supportive, like of everything. Everybody else's parents are cool. They're all pretty like normal parents about it,
Yeah.
But, like, they're like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you should do this, Joe. Like, our bass player, Joe, literally used to just come on tours with us. He moved to Philadelphia with us, but he wasn't in the band. He just wanted to come on tours. So, like, he basically quit everything to not even be in the band. Just, like, come on tours. And then we put him in the band. But, like, for a while, he was, like, everybody in this band is, like, just down to do it since day one. Like, that was, like, the goal of doing the band, kind of, in a way, when we didn't even know it was, like, a real goal. It was, like, we are gonna tour and, like, do this. Because, like, all the bands around here are so good and they don't do anything.
Sure.
Like, in our area, I guess.
Yeah, like what bands did you guys, did you, I guess, kind of come up with that you were, seeing that you said obviously just didn't have the time to dedicate to, doing what you wanted to do?
I guess, a lot of them are still together, so I don't want to like name drop because I know they're going to listen to this shit. But yeah, like I mean, on the one hand, the two things that kind of influenced me at least to get into like hardcore from like punk, because we kind of went down the road of like being into like Green Day and stuff, and then we got into like Warped Tour, like punk, like No Effects, like, all that shit, and then like it's just kind of slowly like went from that. So like, I don't know, we used to go to shows at this place called the Mr. Roboto Project, which is like still around in Pittsburgh. Yes. And like the hardcore bands will play, and it was always like so like, oh my god, like, you know, it was like kind of nerve wracking because they were all kind of like it just felt so different, you know. Right. So like there was some one band in particular. I think the band that's probably like influenced us the most to do what we do in like a positive way is this band Heartless, who are still together. They're on Southern Lord records now. But when we first played with them, like, I was just kind of like, oh man, like this is way better than what we're doing, and like, you know, we kind of shaped it around that. I'm like, dude, like, to make a side note, if it wasn't for the bands around here, like there's no way. Like every show we played, every band would come and say like, that was so awesome, that was so good, and like we were fucking terrible. Like we were so bad, but like they would just tell us it was good, like no matter what. So we would be like, man, we're fucking good, you know? Yeah. And like keep going, because we would have given up. Yeah. Like, and that would have been it, because we would have just been embarrassed. But like they would always come, they would always support us, and like, I mean, Pittsburgh's like really weird in that way. Like, yeah, and that really, because I mean, I've played when I toured with my old band. Like, we went through Pittsburgh a few times, and it always was a really, really unique vibe. It wasn't so much from like, you know, the amount of kids that came out or whatever, but it was just it was just a very unique vibe. But that's very cool. Like, do you think that, you know, the bands obviously kind of, you know, support each other? I mean, or more, maybe more. Dude, like that's like kind of like where it's like the thing about Pittsburgh, like that vibe you're talking about. That's really, to me, weird. There's a couple sides of it always. There's last little scenes and things. The part of Pittsburgh, like hardcore punk that we grew up in, is like a lot of the like quote unquote, let's say bigger. They're not bigger, but they have like names to them. Hardcore bands just don't play here. So like kids don't. It seems like there definitely are kids who, like, especially now, like, still follow that stuff. Like, you know how you kind of go to like a city, like a big city, and you'll kind of just like there's trends. Like, it's not even like really in a negative way, but people are all kind of like getting on things at the same time. Yeah, it's just like was literally never like that. Like, because people, it seemed like, didn't even know that shit existed. Like, so it would just be like bands would try to sound like other local bands. So like it kind of built up into like what we sound like is kind of like what Pittsburgh sounds like in general, I feel like, and it's definitely a different like look on it, but like it's a mix of a bunch of different like things, and I don't know, like it's just created like a really different hardcore and punk scene than like other places.
Sure. And do you think that maybe the fact that people were obviously stoked that, you know, younger kids were playing that, do you think that kind of played into it as well, where it's like they wanted to be supportive because they saw that, you know, younger kids, like, you know, like you said, like, you know, just past middle school and into early high school that were playing this type of stuff? Do you think age had a factor?
I think absolutely, yeah. Like, I mean, that's what they all tell us now. They're like, you know, like, well, they when I asked them, like, you know, why, like, I remember the first show that really turned us, like, we started off playing at this place called Games and At, and when we were playing, like, it was like this games place, and they would let us, like, rent out the back room for, like, obscene amounts of money, like, just because there was nowhere else for us to do shows, and, like, they knew that, and they were, like, super old and, like, terrible people kind of, but, like, you know, like, they were all really nice, but so we started doing that, and then we started, like, we got asked to play the show randomly. Somebody dropped off. There's this message board called the Roboto board here, and it's like, it's kind of like where things kind of happen. So, like, I remember messaging somebody on there somehow being like, oh, can we go on the show? And they were like, no. But then they messaged back, they're like, hey, and you can bring, like, 2 half stacks if you can play the show, like, first. And it was like a 10-band show. Sure. So we got to play, and, like, yeah, like, that was the show that kind of turned it. And, like, everybody was just kind of like, man, like, it's so awesome. Yeah, like, you guys are so young. Like, the young thing's always, I mean, it seems like, I don't know, eventually we just won't be young, that won't happen. But that's like the first thing people like ever say basically is like, you guys are so young. I'm like, I know. And they're like, that's super cool. And I'm like, I know. Like, I think it's cool, but like, yeah, I don't know, definitely. The Pittsburgh bands kind of all that was a big part of it, I would say. And they saw like an energy in it, I think, because we always had that energy. It wasn't like controlled, I feel like, more like how it is now. It was like really chaotic and weird, and like our strings would break and the straps would fall off all the time and stuff.
Sure.
But, like, yeah, and we played like out of line 6 like combo amps, but like, yeah, it was like click like the distortion button on it or whatever. It sounded like fucking. There was like a Deftones tone. I know we'd use that sometimes.
Sure,
but, like,
sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling now, but that's
no.
I do, so.
Sorry, dude. It's totally fine. That's where you get the best stories, obviously. So I did want to hit on your so I did want to hit on your parents again, as far as the idea that they've obviously always been supportive. So it's like you never had to have that sort of sit down conversation with them where it's just like, hey mom, hey dad, like I don't want to pursue school any further, and I want to tour and I want to do this.
Well, that's not exactly true, because like my mom especially really like tries to like, she doesn't really understand, which is like obviously like, I mean, she understands, it seems like a lot more than anybody else, but like she doesn't really get it in the way that like, so like when the label stuff started coming up, you know what I mean? She was like real worried about it, and like wanting to like try to know what's going on. So like I don't know. When I like wanted, this kind of just happened like a couple months ago where we left college. So
right, exactly.
It's fresh on my memory, but we left college in December. So like, and I'm supposed to go back in September, but I don't think I'm gonna. Okay. But yeah, basically, they were just like, I don't know. They knew. Like, I told them when I was going to college, I'm like, I'm going to this, but like, if we get a chance, like, it's not like there's some kind of break you get, but like, if we can just get a little bit, you know,
right.
like, we're gonna leave and we're gonna do it. And they like knew. That was just kind of how it was. They didn't know it was gonna be like after the first semester, but and now we're just doing it forever. But it seems like, but you know, I don't know. The other parents were like, it was rough.
Right. It was rough, and they still obviously they begrudgingly understand it.
Yeah, well, Reba's parents are like unbelievably supportive. Like, well, they just helped us like do so many things. Like, they're still skeptical. Like, sometimes like they're like unbelievably supportive in like a lot of ways. Joe and Eric's parents are both like really great, but they've always been really skeptical. Yeah. I can talk about Eric's dad. He's like 100 years old, so I don't think like he knows what a podcast is. But like he was like, I don't know. Well, honestly, now that I think about it, they were all fucking supportive. They've all let us, like, I don't want to downtime. They've let us all practice in the house. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, none of them have ever been like, you can't do this. You know, that's normal skeptical parent stuff. Well, but I mean, yeah, they've been great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes from the fact that it's just like they, parents have the instinct to where it's like they always want something better than they had in their own lives. So they look at it from, you are looking at it from the standpoint where it's like, all right, here's this experience. Because I did the same exact thing. It's like I dropped out of school because, I had the ability to do it because I found a job that paid me while I went on tour, which is, an ideal scenario. But yeah, it's the idea that, you want to have an experience. You're like, when am I ever going to be able to potentially do this again? Whereas parents obviously look at it from the standpoint where it's like, yeah, I understand the experience, but where the hell are you going to potentially make money when you're, 35 years old or whatever? It's like that,
exactly. I mean, we're still figuring that. I mean, like they're always stressed about that shit, like, because like, I mean, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, like, at all. Right. Like, we're pretty much all just like, I don't know, we're leaving in October, and like, I mean, that's basically it. Right. Like, for like a long time. So it's like, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. It's still kind of stress among everybody's parents. But yeah, like, honestly, like, like you said, like, it's just a natural way to feel. But like, honestly, the more I'm thinking about it now, I haven't really thought about it too much. Like, they've all been so helpful. Like, Joe's parents have been so supportive. They let us like do a million bands. We did side band stuff all the time in their basement, and we used to practice at Eric's dad's house all the time. And like, they've just kind of let us and help us as much as they can, So I mean, we couldn't really ask for anybody better.
Yeah, no, that's really cool because yeah, that is that's a common theme where it's like it's just the most difficult conversation that you can have with your parents where it's like, "Hey, I'm going to do this because it's a dream and when am I ever going to do this again?" And then they go,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's cool, but I'm not going to support that." And it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've never, thankfully, I mean, that's come in play in many little ways, but like nobody's ever put their foot down and said, I'm not supporting this. I think in a lot of different ways, for different reasons for each individual one of us, they've supported us like doing this because of those reasons, because it's either been a way out of other things or because like, like in my parents' case, like, because they just know that I love to do it. Like, I don't know, like, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And kind of hitting on the age tip, like what you're saying, that's basically the first thing that everybody talks about. And
Yeah.
you seem to be obviously good natured about it, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
like yeah, you embrace that because obviously that is who you are, like you said.
Yeah, I am. I mean, like, it's sick. Whatever. Yeah, like.
And does it feel just because there obviously is more attention that's placed on the band now, does it still feel that like you guys are trying to, figure out what you're doing musically? Like, does that whole sort of dichotomy of like, okay, yeah, you are a young band from like the public's perception, but you have been playing with these people, since early high school. So it's, it's going on 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, some of them, yes, kind of. Yeah, some of them kind of, yeah.
Right.
We like to consider it a little short on that just because it's been me and Reba for that amount of time. But
that's
like,
true.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I know just, yeah. Side note, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But yeah, so does it feel that, even though you are young, you're like, well, yeah, we are older because we are trying to, like we are confident in the music that we create,
Yeah, no. Yeah, like, I don't know. It never, when people say, like, the stuff about all the young stuff and everything, people even ask us sometimes, we have, like, the Tumblr thing now, so people, like, ask us questions all the time, like, oh,
right.
Does it piss you off when people ask, like, about how young you are all the time? Or somebody the other day, like, when we have that band that just came out on No Sleep Adventures.
Yep.
And people are like, does it piss you off, like, that all the advertising things are, like, this has members of Code Orange kids? I'm like, they're trying to, like, use that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no, like, that is what we do, dude. That's fucking awesome. I'm so proud to, like, have friends that, like, are literally my best friends that I hang out with every single day. And we have 2 bands that are on, like, 2 of our favorite current record labels. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking awesome. Like, why would we want to, like, hide that or hide, like, how old we are, Because... Yeah. Like, it's an advantage, honestly, if anything. It's not like a disadvantage. If people want to talk about that shit, like, cool. We've never, like, we're not a gimmick on it. Never have been. We just play, and, like, it is what it is. Like, but, like, if people if that's what they want to talk about, then, like, if they're talking about it at all, that's cool, man. Like, 'cause nobody used to talk about it. And nobody talks about anybody from around here. And, like, we're just, like, so lucky and so, like, blessed to be, like, getting anybody wanting to, like, ask us stuff, so it's like, I don't care what they want to ask us about or write about or whatever, like, that's all.
Yeah, you're like, hey, whatever exposure we can get right now, like, that's more than we had a year ago.
Yeah, like, we're not all gonna sit in a fucking crib, like, and have, like, some photographer, like, dangle something over us or something, like, it's not, we're not like gonna, like, dress up as babies, like, while we play or anything, but, like,
which would be a good Halloween costume.
It'd be fucking sick. And we probably should do that at the fest, which we're playing.
You probably should.
Yeah, we probably should. But, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we're not going to cry on stage or anything, like, and demand our moms, everything. Like, yeah, like, it's just like I don't know. It is what it is. We are young. We all like being young. Like, none of us really want to be older. Like,
sure. We
just want to do whatever we are, and I don't feel bad about it at all. I think it's cool if people want to talk about that shit. It is. I mean, it gets a little, like, with specific things, like the way that some people do it is awesome, but the way other people have kind of done it in the little bits of pieces of media shit we've done, it's like sometimes it's kind of like,
yeah. Well, if that's like the sole focus of an interview, where it's just like, so how can you do this when you're 19 years old? How can you do this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that.
Well, I'll just bring up all the bands that were 18 years old who started doing this, like all the bands that we love. You know what I mean? Like that's like, even just like the most basic one ever, like fucking Minor Threat and stuff like that. Like, I mean, like all those bands were like super young, you know. Like, not, I mean, there's been tons of bands who are like old that started, and but, like, I'm even like fucking, I don't even know, like most bands that I can think of that like really influenced us, like, has been maybe older than us, but like they've been young, and you know, like they have that youthful energy, and like they care. Like that's the difference, you know. Like we meet so many bands that just don't care,
right?
And it's because I burn out on doing stuff, but like we care. Like we like doing this. It's fun. It's awesome, and you know, like I don't know. I think that, like I said, like being young and not having done everything forever is like kind of like it's totally an advantage, you know, because we like still really like doing it.
Sure, and I think part and parcel of it too is the fact that it just depends on when you get that level of attention. Because it's like, I mean, you are right in the fact that most bands obviously start in high school, and you know, because you know you're full of piss and vinegar, and you're like, you know, that's when you're most amped on everything. And so but then it just depends on when that level of attention kind of comes, where it's just like, oh, you know, you discover this band when, you know, most members are in their early 20s or whatever the case may be, and it's like, it just depends on you know, when you get that sort of attention, and obviously how people perceive it and handle it. And it's like, you know, if you're under 20 and you know you're already kind of cutting your teeth on touring and recording records and stuff, people are like, wow, they're young. And it's just like, well, like you said, most people start when they're in high school, so
and it's like, exactly. And we've gotten to go through every stage of this together. Like all four of us like have gotten to go through like liking new things and starting new stages in life, whether it be through like music or anything. But we've done it all together. There's nothing about those dudes that I don't know because I was there. So it's like that's also cool too. It's like since I was 14 or whatever, 15, like I've got to see their musical progression, and I've got to see like everything, you know. So it's like it's cool to have grown up like together and to be so young, because like by the time we're like whatever 30 or 40 or 50, it's like I know everything about these dudes, you know. It's not like there's no question, but I'm not like worried that one of them's gonna like do something sketchy or anything, because they're just fucking not. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Just,
well, yeah,
if they did, it'd be idiots. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, because you've existed with these people for so long, and that's know, there is.
Who are they gonna hang out with even? Like we hang out every single day. Like it's like if somebody fucks up, like they're pretty much fucked. Like I mean, not and you know, and I just don't think like that anybody would do anything like malicious, and like that's kind of something that's like. You know, you meet a lot of people, like, not just in music, but, like, who you think are really, like, cool, and you look up to them, and then, like, you kind of meet them, and you're like, you know, they're kind of fucking sketchy.
Yeah,
so, like I never, but then I can get back in the van with, like, my dudes, and I don't have some dude sitting there, and I'm like, well, I think you're kind of fucking sketchy, too, but I can't say that shit, you know, like, I just know that I know them, you know, it's awesome.
Sure. And two last things. One of them could be kind of a bigger thing, but I know, like you said, you mentioned, and the reason I bring it up is because I personally have a lot of members of my family have battled depression, and you know how. Yeah. I mean, obviously, music is such a cathartic thing for people that do go through that. You know, like, are you actually like medically diagnosed as such, or is it one of those things where it's like
I've gone to like therapists and stuff like that. Like, I'm not medically diagnosed because I kind of refuse to do it.
Okay.
But I mean, all the
signs
kind
are
of my
there.
own problem. But yeah, the signs say I don't know, maybe not. But I know I've dealt with like that's what I call it, at least, because I've you know dealt with a lot of stuff personally. My grandfather is like medically diagnosed, and he was like committed to suicide and stuff a couple of years ago. So like it's kind of like runs in my family and stuff like that. So so it's just kind of been like, I don't know. That's music for me has been like, I don't know.
That's kind
helps.
of
I write the lyrics and everything, so. Yeah, definitely. It's like it's kind of hard being at home sometimes because like you get so used to like being around you people all the time. If we've been for the past 6 months, and like even though stuff like gets really hard, it's like they're still there. You know, you're still around people all the time, and like that's been kind of a little bit of a struggle. And I think all of us are like half the band that still kind of deals with some of that stuff too. Like, but you know, I don't know. I write all the lyrics for the band. Like, so it's that more even than music. It's like been really helpful to me.
Sure.
to like get it out there, I guess, whatever, put it on paper.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a cathartic experience, obviously.
Definitely. I mean, definitely. Yeah.
And so, you know, kind of coupling that where, you know, you were just saying where obviously it's like it's difficult to be home. Like, you know, is that kind of a catalyst for you, obviously being like, yeah, it's harder to be home, so I really want to be in a different city every night. Like, do you think it's kind of coupled with that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like, I mean, it's, yeah, like being able to like just be in a different place all the time is like, it kind of helps you get away from like a lot of the issues that it's not like I come home and I mean, I love my family. I have like a wonderful family. It's just like they're stuck inside of me, you know, that I can kind of get away from whenever I'm with everyone and I can't like when I'm by myself, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like it makes it easier for sure, you know. It's not like an escape in a way where it's like if I was really happy, I would still do this because I love doing it. It's like really fun. It's great, but like it's, you know, it definitely adds to it. It makes it kind of like I need to do it. So there's no way we're not going to do it. You know what I mean? It's not really a choice. This is my life. This is like how I was born. Like hardcore and punk and all that stuff is never like, it's not a choice. You know, it's like it's what connected with me emotionally and like it's just how it's who I am. Like that's my life now.
Sure.
You know? So I don't know.
And then two last things before I wrap it up. One of them is, you know, I kind of like to, especially because, you know, you haven't had, you know, you're younger than me and you haven't had these bevy of experiences to kind of like draw upon. What's been the most, besides obviously like working with Deathwish and, you know, No Sleep With It Adventures, what's been kind of the weirdest thing that you have felt sort of like out of body experience with the band where it's just been like, dude, I can't believe that we get to, you know, do this because of this. Like I never thought that would happen.
Dude, so many. Everything that happens, like every single time, like every single time it's like we're about to go to Europe next week with Defeater for like 3 weeks. I'm like, what? Like, right? Like there's no way. Like I saw Defeater a couple years ago and like, you know, like that was a big deal to me. When we went on tour with Touche More Defeater, I was like, dude, like a couple years ago, that fucking losing sleep, losing friends shit, that was my Facebook about me, man. Like, that was some real shit. And they're just like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't know, I gotta go. Yeah. But like, you know, like, dude, like that, when those records, like when that first Defeater record came out and like, that first Touche record or whatever, they like, it was just a couple years ago, but like, that was like, it was a big deal for all of us. You know, we like loved the records and like, you know, I don't know, like, it's everything, like, getting to do that tour. We're, like, working with, like, a booking agent dude who's, like, works with all these bands that we love, and, like, it's just cool, like, everything, you know, the Europe shit, any tours. We're doing some tours in the fall. I'm not going to say shit about, but I'm just like, wow, that's, like, crazy. Like, it's, like, super cool to, like, be able to play with bands that, like, I have seen so many fucking times, you know what I mean? Yeah. And, like, dude, we're playing This Is Hardcore. Like, I'm playing with, like, fucking Negative Approach and, like, In My Eyes and, like, Gorilla Biscuits and, like, fucking Lifetime and Four Punch. And it's like, what? Like, it's Crown of Thorns, man. Even the fucking Crown of Thorns. Like, that's crazy. Like, I'm playing a show with Crown of Thorns. Like, I know I don't know if that's, like, people, like, we love, like, all kinds of hardcore and, like, all kinds of punk music, and to just be able to play with all these different kinds of bands. And it's like hard and to not be really pigeonholed, as I think, because we do play with like what people say, it's like, you know, like cry bands, and we do play with like hard bands, so like, you know, it's like, it's cool. It's like everything is a surreal experience, and you know, as I think it will be always, hopefully. Yeah, that's the best part.
That obviously you got to keep that childlike wonder, because that, you know, once you I think a mistake or just something that happens with age in certain people where it's like once you, I guess, expect things to happen, that's when it obviously becomes less fun. Like, you know, when you don't have to worry about kids coming to the show, that's when you kind of like lose that perspective. And I mean,
I mean that kind of speaking of surreal experiences, that was one, like, in a way where it didn't, like, it wasn't like on a huge show or anything, so it didn't like lose it percent, but like, dude, when we were on that Touche tour, like, it was like, kids are coming to this shit, like, whatever. Like, that was, like, honestly, like, that was kind of cool, just because that was the only time it ever happened. Like, I did not have to, like, think, like, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, because it was like, kids are going to come to this show to see this band. It's like insane. We are going to get to play to a bunch of kids for the next like 3 weeks, and like I don't really have to worry about it. And that was surreal, because that was awesome.
Yeah.
So I wasn't stressing every single second like I was when we did the one with Xerxes or did the one with Full of Hell, who are both like amazing bands. But like, you know, Touche kind of like broke that that, you know, that point, and that's like awesome. They're amazing dudes. Like, that's great. But like, yeah, it's just, that was surreal. Just like playing those shows and like, nobody was that worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, that was normally like the main focus of like my worry in general, like for tours. But like, so it's like, yeah, I mean, and it's like not a ton of kids came. It was like whatever, you know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That was really cool. That was surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And kind of to wrap things up, just on a side note, based on the you know, obviously, like you mentioned once in the interview with Adventures.
Yeah.
I think it's like when Chris from No Sleep first played that for me as well. It's just so funny because obviously the style that Code Orange Kids plays is, you know, it could be considered a throwback in some way, shape, or form, and like obviously it shows influences beyond, you know, you being a quote unquote young band.
Yeah.
And Adventures is exactly the same thing except completely different musically. So it's just, you know, because people could compare it to a lot of stuff that was happening, you know, whatever, in the mid 90s emo explosion. And you know, it's just kind of funny. So like, obviously Adventures kind of explores a different side of you musically, and the same sort of idea where you are hearkening back to influences that might not have been, you know, might be overlooked by a lot of kids that are younger.
Dude, yeah. Like, for Adventures, I can kind of speak on that for both bands. Like, for Adventures, it's like, you know, we love all the current bands are like awesome. They're great. But like, you know, we want to make a band that sounded like Knapsack, and like that sounded like kind of like Texas is the Reason, or kind of sounded like fucking, you know, even like Jawbreaker or something like that. You know, like we, like, that's, as much as like we love current bands, like that is kind of, to us, like, that's not as interesting as like trying to pull influences from like fucking, I don't even know, like fucking University Club, like anything, like, and just like try to put it all into something that sounds fresh and kind of like sounds new, you know, even though it's like, it's us doing it. And like, same thing with like Code Orange Kids, like we write parts, like we're thinking like, it's not like we're like, oh, we're gonna make this sound like this band, but it's like, yeah, like, I kind of want this song to sound like fucking Is Here We Gone, or like I want this song to sound like Burn, like, you know, like it doesn't, I don't know, it's kind of like, I don't know, yeah, like with all that stuff, it's kind of, we try to pull everything, you know, but like we also all listen to like current bands like all the time, you know, like one of my favorite bands that like Adventures takes influence from is like Tiger Straw, and like we met those guys, and like they were like one of the coolest bands we ever met, you know, and like, so just being able to pull like, you know, stuff from everywhere is like, that's part of why I think like our two bands, I mean, at least in my heart, in my opinion, like have something a little bit different and like a little bit special that hopefully like people will or will not like catch on to, but I know it's there, you know, I know that we draw from different places than a lot of other bands, you know, especially our age, so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think, you know, like, just to kind of wrap it all up, I think, you know, what gets me stoked on this is because, like, you know, you look at the attention spans of kids that are into independent music. Like, you know, I just recently, like, I mean, I went to Warped Tour yesterday, so it's like, you know,
shit, why?
Yeah, it's because it's.
I don't know. That's cool though.
Yeah. It's always an interesting experience for me. I always go for work in some way, shape, or form. So, but you know, granted, that's of course, as I guess, as quote unquote as mainstream as it gets as far as independent music is concerned. But you know, the youth culture, pop culture, like all of that's wrapped up within independent music. Like, you know, the idea is that once you hit a certain age, you're supposed to get out of it. But you know, I look like referencing myself, where it's like, you know, I'm 31 years old, but I can listen to a band like Adventures and Code Orange Kids and be excited about it, because not only is it current enough for kids that are fans of bands that are current, but also people like myself that have, you know, experienced other bands, like everything that you're citing, His Hero's Gone, Burn, et cetera, that stuff that's like still meaningful to me, but obviously meaningful to you as well. And it's great. That combo makes me so excited. So, you know, bands like Balance and Composure, Title Fight, like all that stuff is...
Dude, those bands rule. Like, it's exactly, like, that's amazing. Like, that, like, if that's the case, like, if I can't be into punk and hardcore when I'm, like, 30 or 40, whatever, then I'm fucked. Like, that's just what I like. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and it's at one of those points where it's like, I know that I'm only 19 years old, but there's things in life that like, this is something that I'm going to be a part of, forever, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to be tall and weird and skinny forever, and I'm going to like hardcore and punk and shit forever. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it is what it is, like, and, like, I think that that's the great thing about punk hardcore and about bands, like, like you were saying, Title Fight and Not Pleasure, and they might be on Wolf Tour, but they aren't that. You know what I mean? Like, they aren't that culture that's trying to force you to be done with something at a certain age or force you to, like, be this, like, those bands are like punk bands, like real punk bands,
Sure.
And, like, kids can see that. You can see it on their faces, you know what I mean? Like, and I hope that people feel that way about us, But,
yeah. No, dude, that is a goal, and even though this could be considered a trend now, where it's like there's obviously younger bands that are playing sort of older-ish style music, but dude, it's a trend that I want to see continue to happen, because it's like it forces kids that might only be into the most current stuff to like look backwards, which is obviously what keeps the culture moving forward in general.
And you can tell that that's those bands' goals, especially like I'll just keep using those bands as an example because they're easy, like Title Fight. Like, Title Fight, like, from what I understand, I don't know Title Fight at all, but, like, from what I understand, like, they are trying to, like, further that and push that in a way, and, like, you see most of the time, like, and this is just subtle, but, like, even just the shirts those guys wear, stuff like that, like, it definitely exposes kids that, especially because they are playing popular type music, so it's like it exposes kids to like look at that and be like, oh man, I should fucking listen to Quicksand, you know what I mean, or I should listen to Youth of Today, or like whatever. So it's like, I don't know, that's really cool. And if it's a trend, then like, all right, whatever. Like, who cares? Like, people who say that shit, it's like, it's just, none of that shit matters. Just like, everybody should just do it, just do what you like, do whatever, and it is what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you, Jami, for wanting to hang out, and
thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun, because obviously you'll be doing a lot of interviews over the course of the next year or so, and I hope this will start you off on the right foot, because you'll be answering a lot of the same questions. Dude, so how's your new record? How's this? How's that?
Let me just say, it's awesome. That's what I'm going to say every single time. Dude, did you see there was like dude, Lambgood fucking hated this shit, but like, there was a press release thing for like the recording or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but whoever I was talking to, I just said, shit's going to be buck.
Oh, yes.
And that went in the thing.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but like, everybody's like, they think they are. Like, shit's going to be. I was like, I don't know, man. That's just like, I just say that shit. I don't, like, it is. It's going to be awesome. If I didn't think it was going to be awesome, then I wouldn't fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like, because that would be super embarrassing.
No,
like,
no, totally.
So I don't know. Yeah.
It's fun.
Totally.
It's perfect. But yes, but thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed yourself.